I'm back, bitches! Okay, it's been a minute. I was a little bit distracted, but can you blame me? Just look at what came out after I took a break. So many games. Also, I was on a scholarshipy thingy, building robots, and getting that paper, boy! But during that entire time, I couldn't stop thinking about this series. I've only just begun to explore the vast world of Vana'diel, and the epic journey that lies ahead. I believe I owe it to myself and all of you to finish the base game of Final Fantasy XI before moving on with anything else. With Yoshi P's announcement of Echoes of Vana'diel, the new Alliance raid featuring the infamous villain from Final Fantasy XI, I couldn't think of a better time to dive in and share with you all the origins of this legendary foe. And I refuse to let FF14 players kill this guy before me. I got here first! Our goal, to take down the Shadow Lord and finish the base game story quest in time for Vana'diel's introduction to Eorzea. So, come with me and we'll take him down together. In the last episode, Katala and I prepared to raid the Davoi base in search for the Magicite withheld by the Orc Beastmen. As Katala and I charged through the camp, our access to the Magicite was blocked off by a fog wall that we couldn't bypass. None of the items we had worked, and we were clearly missing something. Standing there disheartened, Katala felt his time in this world was over, and left the game behind for good. Rest in peace, Katala. We will never forget.
Or forgive.
Without my partner, I was at a loss, but determined not to give up on this world, I chose to double back to an evil monkey that beat me up earlier from the Rhapsodies of Vana'diel questline, and soon took my revenge. Once victorious, I continued through the mysterious portal with our future friend iroha to save our ally, Lion. And so, the adventure continued once more. Leading into the portal, we discovered a land devoid of colour and life. Much like what iroha described when the emptiness spread across the world in her time. We found Lion hale and hearty, chatting with our new big friend, Zeed. Since there were no introductions, I figured he must be from an earlier section of the main story that I've yet to reach. However, if you seek him out, he can actually teach you the Dark Knight job class by the time you reach level 30, before he starts to have a big role in the main story quest. Hey Zeed, have you met Estinian? I have a feeling you guys would get on just swell. A livelier version of this area is familiar to Zeed. He comments on the similarity to the sanctuary found in northwestern Mendartia, difference being that everything here is imbued with the colour of death. iroha recognized the sanctuary mentioned as her father discovered it in his travels, saying those chosen by the crystal would venture deep inside a holy shrine, where Dawn Maidens would offer their protection. Their conversation is cut short as a mysterious bell starts echoing throughout the land. It causes Lion to nearly collapse and Zeed to go into a short-lived frenzy. Regaining sense, iroha had more to offer, believing the world they're in now is known as Escha. She recalled the words of our future selves regarding that world. When the darkness first came, the Middle Lands were first to be assaulted. Swaths of land were consumed, leaving a colourless landscape where life once thrived. It marked the beginning of the end. But according to her, this event took place many years from now. So why are we here? Did iroha bring the emptiness with her? Is history being rewritten? The mystery remains. Before proceeding on, Lion feels the Mother Crystal calling to her and recommends heading back there for clarity. As iroha senses that Lion may have a strong connection to her future, she desires to follow. Let me take a second to explain why I'm so invested in the Rhapsodies of Vana'diel questline. Spoilers for Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers incoming. You have been warned. iroha's journey reminds me of the Crystal Exarchs, aka Grahatia. A hero of no renown, apart from his forgotten bloodline, found himself in a position where he could save the world when it needed him most. Through decades of hardship, sacrifices and loss, he pushed forward inspired by the tales of the Warrior of Light, our story. As a young man he met his hero, only to stand to the side as the warrior braved ruinous depths and saved the world from an unforeseen danger. In his wizened old age as the Crystal Exarch, bound by his fate, he would have done anything to go on just one more adventure with the hero who inspired him so.
Promise me you'll take me on your next adventure. A journey. Together. That's all I ask.
As we look to him for guidance, he looked to us for inspiration, and as a reminder of his youth. He desired to live once more, and so he did with our aid. What makes Graha special isn't the fact that he's a wise and talented character, but that he is as inspired by the player as we are inspired by him. both giving reasons to continually push forward and live life to the fullest. Iroha reminds me of Graha, someone to whom I see potential, while she had already seen ours, in a future that must be unwritten. And so, I wish to continue my journey with her, and do what my future self could not. Save the f***ing world! I had desired to continue forward, but upon seeing the level 57 enemies and reflecting on the previous discussion, I thought it best to return through the portal back to our world. As said previously, the next Rhapsodies quest takes place at the Mother Crystal. Knowing my path was assured, I was content leaving the area and continuing on with the base game nation storyline for now. After all, we'll need to progress further in that storyline before we reach our goal. Before I jump back into the story, I consulted with the mighty turnip to see if I can make my experience a little bit smoother, but all the dickhead gave me was a minimap. That being said, the minimap is extremely useful and reveals hidden markers that have plagued me in the past videos. Honestly, the game is so much better for it. I tried doubling the frame rate as well, but it didn't exactly go as planned. Yeah! Once I got settled in, I hit the streets to a successful first day back. Though it wouldn't be Final Fantasy XI without me stumbling across a random ass side quest along the way. While I was floating around Sandy Doria looking for work, our old friend Halvar requested my assistance in the most important matter. Halvar and His Majesty Destin were reminiscing on a queen that never was. A Tavnazian woman named Liut that was to be the next queen of Sandoria until her time was cut short. As Halvar recalls fond memories of her, His Majesty gets bored and tells Halvar to focus up as he's in dire need of a new queen. Quick to move on, this fella. He demands Halvar to search for a new queen for his son and successor, Trion, making sure to mention she must have all the qualities and good looks of his, mother.
Yeesh.
Halvar tries to pull a fast one and arrange a meeting with his own daughter, saying that she's been at a marriageable age for far too long. That is a very subtle way of saying old.
Old?
Old.
His Majesty laughs at the idea and suggests Halvar take up a role as a comedian. As Halvar is reminded of his sad, sad life, Trion's brother Puge walks in to lend information on Trion's preferences. Okay, take out your pen and paper, guys. Trion likes red-haired Taru women with pigtails who are well-travelled adventurers. The king responded, "Ah yes, an adventurer. Not at all befitting his station, but I agree. That would suit him." Bro, what? Adventurer was not the prominent description there. I suppose I should appreciate his open mindfulness about inducting a free spirit of no station. But like, how would that even work? Wait, my important quest is to help search for a woman of this description? No. Hey, I ain't judging, but I have literal gods to kill. Call me if the bride-to-be ends up being a raid boss or something. Moving on! I got to spend time at the circus, and spammed upgrades that would increase my weapon skills. I'm not sure how effective these upgrades are for getting stronger, but I much preferred the mass genocide option. To help with that, I went hunting for more trust companions to join my party. We are down one very important member since our last video release, and if Mass Effect taught me anything, I'll need more allies if I'm to save the world. It's just facts. I located 2 trust companions in Bastok and 2 more in Windurst, one of which was a Yami, the older sister from the Ninja Quest family, and the other was called Naji, a hot-headed fighter from Bastok. I'm glad to have him aboard. It's very convenient since I needed somebody to kick to the curb when I get cooler members. Speaking of which, next up were Semi and Kupipi in Heaven's Tower. Not exactly an army, but with 4 new allies at my side, I feel stronger than ever. While in Windurst, I came across Seekers of Alduin that wanted to recruit me into their expansion. Expedition. Unfortunately for them, we already have an expedition planned and it's about time we get to it. I glossed over this in the last video, but let me actually explain what's being asked of us in this main story quest. This MSQ, if you will. Once we met with the Archduke of Juno and his bratty brother for some reason, he requested our services on a special mission. He's been informed that all the beastmen from Davoi, Bedeau and Castle Oztroja have been using magicite to bring about the Shadow Lord's return. We've been asked to retrieve the magicite from the beast encampments in each of the 3 nations and return them to the Archduke. I can trust this guy, right? When has a man on a throne ever done anything outside the interest of his own people? To top it off, he says my reward for travelling the world will be an airship pass to help me travel the world. I don't know why his lordship doesn't just give it to me now, since it'll just make my journey 10 times longer without it, you absolute clown. Clown basket. Speaking with the townsfolk revealed we need several items and charms to open passageways deep within the encampments that would lead us to the Magicite. We have our mission, heroes, let's get to it. We first went to the Tengshodo underground in Juno and gained access to Aldo's office by spotting the hidden dialogue with the receptionist. Aldo is a respected leader among the Juno people, and he granted me a silver bell which grants deeper access to the Kadav encampment in Bedo. Before I left, a kind-hearted woman named Verena came to speak with her adoptive brother about the Archduke's recent statement that all beastmen must leave or be removed from Juno. Verena allows us to see from the point of view of the citizenry and how their lives are being affected by the ruling class of warmongers. We'll come back to her later. Just outside Aldo's office, there was a teeny tiny Tengshodo warrior that offered the items we needed to reach the Magicite in Bedo, but it requires us to reach deep into the Kadav encampment first and take down 2 notorious monsters hiding in the marshes and return with their shells. We discovered Bedo as we passed through the Pishao marshes, and it landed us right into the Kadav camp. Searching for a way to the upper level, we began kicking their doors down and fighting them in their homes. Are we the baddies? Either way, this led to some epic moments where more of the beasts would pile in since they could smell my low health from afar. It's a really cool game mechanic. At least, I think it was a game mechanic. It might have just been the tribe responding to me butchering their young. But I guess we'll never know, because they're all dead now. We went through some caves with creepy fountains, and found our notorious monsters hiding in the marshlands above their homes. They were tougher than the others, but they were easily killed once they lost the will to live. Once defeated, they each dropped a generous amount of the items that we were on the hunt for. We walked on the shells of our enemies and headed home. Returning to the Tengshodo in Juno, we traded our Kadav augury shell for a black matinee necklace and our Kadav charm for a Coruscant rosary. These 2 items, along with our silver bell, would be the key into that secret Bedo entrance. While in Juno, I came across a child named Bowden, who offered the crest of Davoi as a reward for hunting corals. This crest would be our entryway into Davoi, the very key Katala and I missed long ago. I must have it, whatever it takes to avenge my partner in crime. Luckily, these corals could be found just outside of Port Juno, but of course my dumbass ran the opposite direction hunting for them. All across East Sarataburta to Merifatau Mountains, until finding them just 10 steps from where I started in Saramung Chapane. At least I got a hell of a view though. Also, I saw somebody with either a Moogle pet or a summon. Whatever it is, I want one. Using the in-game wide scan, I was able to easily find and hunt the corals once in the right zone. I gave the coral meat to Bowden, which he gave to his aggressively ravaged older sister. She's been under some sort of vampiric animalistic curse for a while now. Her fiancé is currently praying at the temple for her, and the boy thought the crest would cure her. Losing almost all hope, he was in desperate need for a hero to come along and save his only remaining family member. While the child told of this terrible curse that befell his sister, I spotted the perfect opportunity to snatch the crest from his hands and never look back. Damn, I'm good. After buying a few new mounts from the greater Moogles, I charged back into the Orc camp in Davoi and got butchered. Repeatedly. Even though I reached the end of this camp with Katala before, it's quite large, and making the wrong turn like I did, it'll send you towards over-leveled enemies that will chase you throughout the encampment. Taking a stealthier approach, I reached further into the camp, crawled through beyond the caves, fighting Malboros while scaling the mountains, stealthed through a nest of Kadav, finally reaching the— shit, I'm back at the start. I took a right, ran across a bridge, finally reaching the fog where Katala ended his journey. I remember now how deflating it was to get crystal blocked here. This is for you, Katala! I used the crest to pass beyond the fog, stepped over a broken wall, and there I saw it, a room encased with magicite. I finally made it through the fog, but little did I know what was waiting for me on the other side. First off, if you enjoy these videos and want to see more of them, please like, share and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and your feedback is always welcome. To help improve the quality of these videos and keep the channel running, consider buying me a coffee on Ko-fi.com. My appreciation cannot be overstated for those who have supported me. Thank you all and enjoy! Upon close inspection of the magicite, I'm thrown into a flashback of adventure and conspiracy. Starting off in the Sandorian Chateau, His Majesty the Pope calls for his loyal subject Frontmage to discuss an upcoming Northlands expedition led by humans from Bastok. He claims the faithless humans are reckless in the investigation efforts, spreading further into territory they do not understand nor deserve to explore. Still, as the investigation has been approved, a dignitary must be responsible for their well-being. Frontmage is ordered to join the expedition team and keep a close eye on whatever the humans are plotting, with the added objective of sabotaging their findings should the investigation bear fruit. Frontmage accepts his duty and takes his leave after a gentle reminder from the Pope. We, the people of Sandoria too, must ever look towards the future. The Elven must never fall behind foreigners, in power or faith. Yep, a whole lot of racism going on. We cut to the expedition team huddled together in the Northlands, arguing as a fierce snowstorm rages outside. After several nights of exploring the desolate expanse of Zarkabard with nothing to show for it, Frontmage insists it's time to return home. However, the Taru and the Mithra sense that something is profoundly wrong with this land and refuse to leave just yet. As the debate intensifies, a human dressed in Bastok attire named Ulrich bursts in, frantic and breathless. He claims their fellow expedition members, Railgrim and Cornelia, were attacked by fiends and had fallen into a crevice. The party immediately rushes out to find their allies. The expedition team spend days searching for their missing comrades in the snowy wasteland. Frontmage is reaching his limit, blaming the irresponsibility of humans and Galka, and demands they abandon the expedition and allies both. This is accepted by the crew with little pushback, especially from Ulrich, who seems all too eager accepting the expedition as a failure. Noticing this, Frontmage asks about the validity of this accident, alluding to the tension between humans and Galka in Bastok. Ulrich is offended by this remark, but the Elven assures him that he cares little of the matter, nor Bastok's petty disputes, but orders Ulrich to stay in line under his watch. With tensions at a new height, the scene fades out to Frontmage wandering the dungeons late at night, only to be assailed in the dark. Before discovering about the culprit or their reasons, we are thrown back into the Magicite cave, left only to wonder. With 1 Magicite found and 2 to go, I teleported straight to Bordeaux to find out what happens next. Thankfully, it wouldn't take long as I already discovered the secret entrance during my recent, excursion here. This one may have been easier to find, but it took the most effort, requiring the Silver Bell, Coruscant Rosary and the Black Matinee Necklace to open. But once in, we found our second Magicite and the tale of the Northlands expedition continued. We flash back to Railgrim, our previously missing Galka, observing activity at the Bastok mines. The miners have begun to employ explosive tactics near the Kadav temple, aiming to gain advantage over the Sandorian military. Railgrim watches with growing concern as the humans pay no heed to desecrating the Beastmen Holy Land. Normally I would be against this sort of action, but after spending some time getting massacred myself in the Bastok mines, I now fully condone it. Burn them all, I say! We watch as the Kadav get butchered by Ulrich, Railgrim and Cornelia on a contract. They tore down the horde expecting to find some heavily protected treasure, but discovered the beasts were only protecting their eggs. While Railgrim mourns for the humans' unwillingness to understand, Ulrich demands they move out and continue the search. Cutting ahead to the snowy Northlands, we see the true fate of the missing crew. Railgrim had been wounded by a sneering Ulrich. As he aims to deliver the final blow, Cornelia steps in to take the fatal wound. Despite taunting the Galka, Ulrich seemed to regret harming Cornelia and runs off. As Cornelia struggles to stay awake, her final words were, "I couldn't let you die here. There are still people who need you." Railgrim cries out to the mountains as we return to our crystal cave. And that makes 2. Only 1 dungeon to go. but we are still missing an item to reach the final Magicite. So, I return to Juno to meet back up with Verena and assist her gobby friend Fictlix with growing plants. Fictlix is an innocent Juno citizen who would soon be displaced thanks to the Archduke's recent orders that all beastmen should be removed from Juno. As we chat with the goblins in hiding, we are informed that we require a Yagudo torch to light the way inside the depths of Castle Oztroja. It just so happens that our new friend Fictlix has exactly what we need. In fact, he's on his way there now himself. Fictlix has seen the sadness in Verena's eyes and believes the only way to cheer her back up again is by breaching Castle Oztroja to politely ask the beastmen there to calm down with this whole global takeover thing. With well wishes and concern from the gobby folk, Ficky makes his way towards his own death sentence. Shortly after, Verena arrives telling us about a group of hunters that have set out for the castle to push the beastmen back. Now aware that Fictlix is between two violent groups, we all head for the castle entrance to bring our friend back to town where he'll be safe. Ish. We travelled across the Merifitau mountains, along the walls stretching out towards the sky, and made our way inside the ominous sand gates. Castle Oztroja is home to the Yagudo beast tribe, bird-like warriors that pose a great danger to the Taru in Windurst. This large castle had multiple floors, with stretched out halls connecting through lever-based puzzles. This beast tribe has my favourite design by far, and looks class when outfitted with different weapon types. Some of the fights were really tense as we went along, as the music had me feeling like I was on a time limit to save our friend. We reached the door with torch holders on either side, only one side lit. We set our Yagudo torch inside the empty holder, and it opened the way towards the final Magicite and our beastly friend. Unfortunately, by the time we reach inside the castle depths, we find Fictlix broken and bruised beyond repair. Verena pleads for the name of the culprit, but the kind-hearted Gobby refuses to reveal the aggressor, fearing it'll only incite more hate and violence. In his last moments, Fictlix tells her not to cry and expresses his gratitude for humanity one last time before fading away into fireflies. As Verena composes herself, she urges us to consider Ficky's kind-hearted nature before striking down just any other beast in our path. Just ahead of our dispersed friend was the final Magicite. Once we examine the crystal rock, another flashback occurs. Not to the expedition team, but to somewhere else entirely. We see two Taru priestesses in Windurst, Star Sybil and Karaha Buraha, are deciding on a name for their newly created magic, which they label as Summoning. Star Sybil is unsettled by how close the lines of battle are toward Windurst, that their attack on Castle Oztroja will succeed and many will die, just as the star reading prophesied long ago. Kara assures her that Windurst will escape its ruinous fate, as the Book of the Gods had taught her everything they needed to succeed, including how to command the greatest of beasts. We cut to a lone Taru minister named Agjido Marujido. Agjido Marujido. Let's just call him Agji. We see Agji charging through the Castle Oztroja, halting all attackers in place. They arrive at the throne before the Yagudo avatar and demand an audience. The Templars laugh at the notion, suggesting the minister be cut into pieces and delivered to Heaven's Tower. The avatar demands silence and hears out the brave minister. It appears the lands of Sarata Burta have been drained dry of their magic and life, resulting in a barren wasteland that continues to grow. Both the people of Windurst and the Yagudo beastmen suspect the other, leading to a war between the two cultures. The beastmen claim that the land had been sucked dry by the towers built by the Taru. However, the small folk claim that all towers are deactivated, yet the wasteland continues to grow, thus pinning the blame on the beast folk and the stone artifacts they discovered in their continued excavations. The Avatar denies the found artifacts being the cause and offers the minister to make his way to Huroto ruins and see firsthand what Star Sybil and her summoners did when they destroyed their armies 20 years ago. Once our vision of the past ends, Lion appears in the crystal cavern and gazes upon Magicite for the first time. As she pondered what the beastmen wanted with it, the cave shakes and a faded echo of a darkly figure appears. The echo calls out to us, declaring that we are too late, that he had already made his return, claiming he would build upon the fears and arrogance of the people and spread the bane that would destroy the land. That Vana'diel would be the grave that contains our kind. The phantom fades and proves the rumours true once and for all. The Shadow Lord is back. I returned to Relu Gardens and handed the magicite to the definitely not evil Archduke. He recognises the impure power of these crystals and believes it's time to eradicate the Beastmen threat once and for all. He reveals that a fourth stone is currently being held in Castle Zaval, deep beyond the seal set in place over 20 years ago, potentially by Star Sibyl and her allies. If the Beastmen got their hands on all four, that may be enough to resurrect the Dark Lord. But this would be impossible. The seal can only be opened by 3 keys held by the 3 great nations. Of course, at that exact moment, a soldier arrives to announce that leaders from all 3 nations have been attacked by beastmen. Applauding the boldness of the enemy, the Archduke bids me to return to the embassy and expect a call from him soon. As I left, the Archduke's little brother held me up and used some witchcraft or some such to peer inside my memories. Recalling my adventures with Fickblix and Verena, he's pleased to see that another cares for beastmen, and sends Wolfie to get this Verena for some reason. Hey buddy! Remember when we almost died? For my hard work in protecting our nation's interest, I received an airship pass, 10,000 gil, and reached nation rank 5. My next step is to take the airship and return to Sandoria to stop the beastmen attackers. Now that my course is set, the battle for Vana'diel is close at hand. But perhaps I need not set sail straight away. Seeing Wolfie again has rekindled my desire to delve a bit further into the Chains of Promethia's storyline. We do have some unfinished business there to attend to, since it had already been interwoven into the nation's storyline, and I'm supposed to be trapped on an island right now. Thankfully, I've just attained nation rank 5. Not many players know this, but with my newfound authority, I can now choose my own working hours and get paid 2 weeks holidays. Hopefully, the Shadow Lord won't kill anybody by the time I come back from vacation. I will admit, I was tempted to put this next part in a separate video down the line, but there is a pretty good reason why I think it's best to show you now. So, let's hop back in. When we last left off in Chains of Promethia, myself and Nagmeloda had just been teleported from the Promathia temple to the Face Meadows after being attacked by a devil child, and had to make our way back to civilization. There we discovered a society living inside an expansive cave that they called the Tavnazian Safehold. As we were under threat of being executed, Justinius, a respected member of their community, allowed us to walk freely among their people under strict watch. I explored the Safehold and spoke with the people that I might understand their reason for being here and find the next objective. As I wandered and chatted with the locals, I came across an interesting old man who asked for news regarding the mainland. He was saddened to hear that the struggle for peace continues, people too preoccupied to wonder about the fates of their lost brothers. A moment passes and the man named Despescher passionately retells the history of Tavnazia. This safehold was built from the ruins of a great mecca of trade known as the Tavnazian Marquisate. Its harbour would welcome ships and treasures from across the world. But the golden age of Tavnazia came to an end 20 years ago when the beastmen hordes concentrated their attack on the nation, until naught was left but a desecrated wasteland. During the attack, the surviving townsfolk hid in the underground cathedral awaiting their death. But 'twas not death that came, but a saviour who guided them through the deepest tunnels to safety. Was for naught, however. The boats had already left and the land bridge destroyed. They were trapped. But even with their backs against the wall, the survivors came together in the belief that their god Altana will save them. It was that belief that helped them come together and rebuild their nation. But even now they struggle. The old man prays that our arrival will turn out to be a blessing for all. Just outside the door I spoke with a young guard, conflicted about how the people speak of current and past day Tavnazia, concerned with how readily people disregard the past to provide for a new future. It seems the Tavnazian people are at a loss as to where their place in history will be, and that takes a toll on their people, both young and old. Shortly after, I met a lady that needed help finding a gift to use as an offering, so she could pray for a guard who lost his memories in battle years ago. I couldn't help her right now, but this would come into play later. I met up with Nagmeloda, and we were both warned to keep our distance from the gate by both Justinius and the 3 turnips that conspire against me. Beyond lies the Phomuna Aquaducts, a haven for fiends and a nasty minotaur that threatens their safety. Nagmeloda offers to kill the minotaur for them, though it feels like I'm the one being thrown into this. Justinius agrees, and the children continue to plot my demise. Out loud, by the way! Does nobody else hear them? Where are your parents? We entered Phomuna Aquaducts, and I must say, it is one of the cleanest sewers I have ever had the pleasure of creeping through. I knew a big dungeon awaited me, filled with creepy enemies, and I wanted to see how far I get going solo and unprepared. I barely survived a fish. So, I immediately summoned my fake friendos and I started casting ninjutsu spells with scrolls and tools that I bought in Norg. Yes, I do read the comments. But it still didn't take long before I got destroyed by spiders and an actual cancer cell, so I had to start picking my targets wisely. I skateboarded back, fought some demons, and found an express elevator that would get me out of this cesspit. Whee! Crawling all around the second floor were these nightmare-fueled monsters, called Diremites, which are way creepier than their scorpion counterparts. Further in, I found some mysterious enemies called Formor, using our job classes. Since they stuck out from the rest of the insects, I felt they had something I needed, but I wasn't sure just yet. I couldn't help but notice that Dark Knights actually use scythes in FF11 instead of greatswords, which I really dig, though I prefer having Reaper as its own class. I found more Formor types ominously guarding a ladder, but after defeating them I discovered the way above is closed shut, so I had to backtrack through the sewer maze and find an alternate route. After a short while, I found several locked gateways and started skipping enemies just so I could find the correct path. I discovered a gateway that looked promising, but to open it I needed a bronze key. Blocked off and running low on health, I returned home to reassess. I thought the key I needed might be a purchasable item used to unlock basic doors, but after some research it turned out to be a rare drop from one of those former types I encountered. Still, I took the opportunity to upgrade to some proper ninja gear using sparks and go in far more prepared this time. While heading back through the Safehold, I stumbled across a hidden target which turned out to be an antique hairpin. Thinking this might be a good offering for the lady I met earlier, I went out and searched for her. After handing over the alabaster hairpin, she told me a story of her past, about a friend she lost when beastmen attacked the Safehold. She grabbed her friend's hand and ran through the terrified crowd, but lost her grip when swarmed by a flood of screaming people and was never seen alive again. Her lost friend's husband also suffered an attack in the line of duty not long after and lost his memory. As the widowed man used to be this lady's childhood sweetheart, a part of her feels immense guilt that she may have let go of her friend out of spite for taking her childhood love away from her. When she finally confessed to the widowed husband, he had no recollection of anyone or anything. The lady now takes care of the injured soldier and prays every year to the gods that one day she may be forgiven. After a story like that, there's probably only one thing that could cheer me up right now. Killing things! I charged back into the aqueducts, ready to kill as many Formor as it takes until I got that bronze key. Finally returning to my last location, I unlocked the gateway with the bronze key and found the minotaur we were hunting after. After slaying the beast with pointy objects, Nagmeloda pushes further into the dungeon with an objective of his own. Not wanting to be outdone by a complete bellend, I push forward myself to discover the dungeon goes much deeper. We were basically taking on the Formor where they live, but in an unfortunate turn of events, River died. I had to run all the way back and grind for another bronze key before I was able to get revenge, but it was sweet. In the storage unit, I found a hidden lever that opened to a secret corridor, housing a puzzle involving element-coded lanterns. I happily ran towards the door to reveal my prize. The door was behind it all along! Oh wait, here it is. In the room stood a fancy Rubik's Cube with Nagmalada pondering over it. He had already reached the artifact and regarded it as a precious vessel that would one day be a valuable asset. I arrive in shortly afterwards, but Nagmalada quickly suggests we return to the Safehold and he kicks me out before I can even see the artifact myself. But it took me so long to get here! Can't I just touch it? Aww. Instead of going all the way back throughout the maze, I used the warp ring I acquired in Sandoria with conquest points. Another useful find. Justinius was pleased with our minotaur disposal, much to the dismay of the whiny brats. Just as we're about to get praised some more, the leader of the Safehold, Prishe, comes in to interrupt my glory. And she's, little girl? You know, now that I take a good look at her, a few connections are being made in that big old brain of mine. Like Shintoto, I recognise Prishe from the Dissidia series.
Hey, I'm back! You miss me, Doc? I mean, Dr. Shintoto? Thanks for holding down the fort.
A little politeness can go a long way.
But until recently, I knew absolutely nothing about her apart from being heavily relied upon by the Tavnazian people. So I was both excited and curious to see why she was chosen as a representative for FF11. Not only that, but as we recently saw in the Final Fantasy XIV live letter, she's also the poster child along with the Shadow Lord for the 7.1 patch, where they'll be introducing the Echoes of Vana'diel alliance raids, so it only seemed fair that they share the spotlight here too. Straight from the get-go, Prishe seemed like a loudmouthed, no-nonsense, ill-mannered child with a leadership complex and temper issues. We'll get along just fine. The locals come to ask her about her adventures and if she saw the massive dragon soaring throughout the sky. She recounts seeing the vapor trails of some huge goddamn dragon and plans to take a closer look once she takes stock. Wanting to see her pal Justinius, the two shout across the halls, remarking on a certain cat that's been dragged in. And then she called my clothes funny looking, in front of all my new friends. The three little thieves tried to rat me out to Prishe for having the same amulet as her, saying that I must have stolen it and I should be hung from a cliff. Prishe points at the amulet on her chest and scolds the thieves for being brain-dead idiots. Back when we first arrived at the Safehold, the Tarotaro said they saw an amulet in my possession that looked a lot like Prishe's and they wanted to return it. The little shits were clearly using it as an excuse to steal from me, but that being said, I do recall seeing Prishe with a beam of light piercing through her chest during one of our visions at Promathia. I must have received that amulet from the Chaos Child back in Juno, which seems to be a copy of hers. Ah yes, it's all coming together now. Justinius vouches for us and Prishe introduces herself. A short while later, Prishe is caught up to speed on the situation, asserting that she couldn't give a damn where we came from, only where I got that amulet. While telling her I got it from a white-haired boy, she seemed confused why it wasn't a tall blonde chick. I'm not sure why that was said, but the amulet was given back to us, and that's all that matters. It even reacted as it passed over. Aww, it missed me. Just then, our favourite storyteller of Tavnazian history stopped by to chat with Prishe, though she seemed none too happy about it. As Prishe is a young and brash leader in a time of crisis and recovery, generational disputes would be expected, seemingly labelled as the abhorrent one by some of the elders. I kinda get that, but it seems the two must discuss something far more important. When asked about the dragon spotted by Cape Riverne, Prishe declared the rumours true, that nothing would have remained had a dragon of that size decided to attack. Dispatchiar points out the similarities between the dragon's description and the frame recently brought in by the Tenshodo, a painting whose tale was told by the cardinal that saved their people all those years ago. Prishe was able to make the connection to Bahamut, confirming a prophecy told down through generations. She asked that I find her partner, Olmia, and bring her back at once. According to the locals, Olmia travelled with her harp to observe the skies. After a quick jog through the Feast Meadows, I found Olmia singing on the cliff edge, a song of gods and men. It all began with a stone, or so the legend says. In ages past, a sentient jewel, enormous and beautiful, banished the darkness. Its many-coloured light filled the world with life and brought forth mighty gods. Bathed in that light, the world entered an age of bliss until, after a time, the gods fell into slumber. That world was called Vana'diel. Our world, Vana'diel. What good is a song if it doesn't rhyme? After a quick introduction, Olmia said this song, Lay of the Immortals, was passed down through their cathedral since ancient times. No matter how much of their history is lost to the flames of war and catastrophe, this song of guidance will persevere. Nagmeloda appeared to greet us as he followed a voice in the dark, a song he recognised even after what he claimed was the longest of trials. Described as a song born in an age where such things did not exist, it was the birth of song, Memoria De La S. He sings, with another verse in tow.
However, this age would not last. The great bang will devour the fair land of Vana'diel. The ancient seal will be broken, awakening nightmares of ages past. A tragic tale of darkness will reign, and yet the gods will not wake from their slumber. That world was called Vana'diel.
I think I like the first verse better. Nagmeloda declares the song is no fabrication. No one, mortal or immortal, can warp the truth of these words. He then gets a text message from his fancy eye patch and goes to leave. When asked by Olmia if that's how the song ends, he responds, No, the song continues, but the next verse is beyond the limits of mere mortal voices. Only the gods can sing forth its melody. Upon returning to the Safehold, Prishe storms in like she's on a mission, ominously telling Olmia that the gates of paradise have begun to open. Apparently Justinius and the others spotted another dragon trail heading towards Camp Reverne, so Prishe had in mind to chase Bahamut down and get some answers. She calls for brave soldiers to join her ranks and is surprised when not even her 3 little defenders of Tavnazia show up. In fact, nobody knew where they were, though one of the guards spotted them talking to a creepy looking guy in a black robe, while another came in to say they've packed their bags and left. Sensing the kids caught the whiff to adventure and put themselves in great danger, Prishe commands the party to move out, determined to knock some sense into their would-be adventurers. We cut through Misero Coast and landed in Camp Reverne, to find the cliff edge now a gateway to the heavens. A floating mountain of shattered rock now hovered above us. We passed on through glowing portals that would carry us throughout the maze-like mountaintops, separating our party along the way. And me without a map. Actually, that's probably why we got separated in the first place. Prishe and Olmia find the 3 kids alongside Nagmeloda, and I can't not voice this scene. Ha! I found you! Get over here!
She found us, and boy does she look mad. She found us, and boy does she look ugly.
Ugly? Ugly? That'll be you when I'm done pounding your faces in!
We'll go home, but only if Prishe promises not to punish us.
Punish you? Go home now, and I might just not kill you! Prishe makes it clear to Olmia that she worries and cares not about the kids. She'll cut them down if they stay in her way.
You're so mean. You're so terrible. You're so ugly.
I already love every scene with Prishe. She adds a lot of life to characters around her. Youthful energy, I suppose. I think I had that at some point. Either way, the kids are doomed. Let's just accept it and move on. I found more portals and dragons, which I had to kill repeatedly until I got the items I needed to pass through some of the bigger portals. I was sure of it, but I still couldn't get through some of the bigger ones. In the end, I just needed a reminder to open the trade menu to use key items. The journey continued from sunrise to sunset, slapping dragons and opening portals to traverse the Broken Mountain. The duty towards the end took me to a very unexpected scene. The party can hear a voice echoing across the cloud tops. Close by, Nagmaloda is standing at the cliff edge, singing Memoria De La S as if calling to the gods themselves. And just so, Bahamut hears the call. The Great Dragon appears in delight, knowing a child of the Kulu clan still tread the soil of Vana'diel. I'm not sure who the Kulu clan are, but Nagmaloda appears to be the last one that remains, instantly earning Bahamut's trust. He calls out to the dragon. Oh wait, let's see if I can get the Fandango voice. Oh, mighty Zodiac! Close enough. Almighty conqueror of the skies! I had never imagined the opportunity to stand before you once more. Nagmaloda recollects that many a millennia ago, the gates of paradise were on the brink of opening, but he saw with his own eyes Bahamut sacrifice himself to become the bar that held the gates shut, before plummeting down into the North Sea. In the decades since he arose from sleep, Nagmaloda had never been happier than he is now. Bahamut feels the same towards the Kulu clan, and the battles fought side by side are forever in his memories.
Over the centuries, the world had been cluttered with several new forms of man. However, if the Kulu still exist, then I can assume our pact remains intact. Darkness brought forth by the Keeper shall signal the end of the age of man.
Seemingly unaware of this pact, Nagmaloda questions if it relates to the emptiness that approaches. Bahamut recalls the Dawn Maiden labeling the darkness as such, an emptiness that lies within all mortals and immortals. She would later go on to create some terrible thing called the Chamber of Eventide, and left it in the celestial capital, the sheer mention of which grabs Prishe's immediate attention. All of a sudden, an airship rises, firing cannons to capture Bahamut. This might be a bad time to mention, but containing Bahamut is notoriously a bad idea. Bahamut recognizes them as the Zilart clan, seemingly another faction that has lived throughout the years. The full party charges forward into battle to break the chains that bind. After giving these pushovers a once-over, Prishe knocks out one of the spellcasters and sets Bahamut free. Which, now that I think about it, may have been a bad idea.
Foolish children, you will never break free from the chains of Promathia.
He said the thing.
In one short moment, Bahamut casts us away, and the chaotic battlefield falls silent. In our delirium, we see the Chaos Child trekking the Northlands, once more alone and defiant as Bahamut wears him down.
It matters not how many times you come here, the result will be the same. Even with the power of living immortals, more people will not be saved. You have already perished. The The body you inhabit is nothing more than a decaying shell.
Enough, Bahamut! We have not given up hope. We are alive! We were born for the purpose of living! Zilart is at an end, but now people will be set free. Goodbye, Vana'diel.
In the aftermath, Nagmeloda rejoins his church buddies, and although he was on a mission, speaking with Bahamut was not part of the Overseer's plan. He argues that the Zillarts surrounding him have become overly concerned by the fact that he is of the Zulu tribe, leading to Bahamut slipping through their fingers while taunting that their people have fallen just as far as his. They continue to argue about his failure to capture neither Bahamut nor the boy. Nagmeloda confidently insists that he knows of a way to deal with the child and contain the emptiness approaching, piquing the Zillart's interest. We awake in a god-forsaken land. Bastok. Ugh. Prishe is the first to wake up and angrily runs off to chase the airship down.
Bye, Prishe! See you in Dawntrail!
River wakes up at the sound of Prishe's piercing voice and she isn't looking too good. We've been on a hell of a journey. After all that, it feels like I've just returned from another world. With all that's happening, I'm feeling a bit left in the dark here. This would be a great time to start the Rise of Zilart expansion to understand the ancient tribes that we're facing. However, since that expansion takes place straight after the base game, we still have a nation story to finish and a Shadow Lord to knock on his ass. So far, we now have both the nation story and Chains of Promethia now gunning us towards defeating the Shadow Lord. It seemed appropriate to leave Bahamut on that note and assess the situation on the home front before making for the final stretch. There's just one more stop I'd like to make. I teleport over to the Mother Crystal of Mia to meet back up with Iroha, Lion and Zed. This Rhapsodies quest began with Lion collapsing at the mere sight of me. Probably because I haven't showered in weeks. They claim the orb that I've been carrying around is most likely a relic from the future, and may have been causing Lion's distress and visions. In all of her visions of the future, she sees me as a hero across many nations and worlds, always helping those in need, and yet none show me trying to stop the approaching darkness. Lion shows great concern over nobody being able to stand up for Vana'diel when the time eventually comes. Iroha reveals that the orb I carry hasn't absorbed enough light to grant a clearer picture. Yet this isn't light that we can simply acquire, but light that accumulates over time and is further affected by events that shape the coming world. We had acquired both the orb and knowledge of the coming darkness far too early, well before enough light had accumulated, and thus time must be allowed for it to be replenished and for major events to occur. According to Iroha's future history, the paths I may take only appear once I've defeated the Shadow Lord, which is considered by many of that time to be the start of my true journey. I really like this. It's not just a way for the devs to say come back after you've gotten further in the MSQ, but Iroha's history shows that I am already following a set path that leads towards the world's engulfment. Yet they still hope for a way to navigate fate's trajectory after a certain point, but before it's too late. With Lion giving me all the information she knows about the upcoming events, a bond of trust was formed, and I am now free to summon Lion during our adventures as a trust member. Iroha confirms the details of Lion's visions and aims to study any current day information leading to the approaching darkness known as the Escha. Lion and Zed make their way towards Norg to inform Gilgamesh of recent developments and to meet back up with them once the deed is done. And with that we have our objective, heroes. To defeat the Shadow Lord and open the path for a better future. With every quest pointing us in that direction, I dare say the stage is set for the final chapter in the tale of this star.
The reunion at hand may bring joy. It may bring fear. But let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last, the promise has been made.